when, Loosegroove sort of reached out to me about the Sun song, and I was kind of blown away because I heard two versions of that song, and the evolution of that song was pretty intense. What is your history? Where are you from originally? How long you been in Seattle?
I'm originally from Augusta, Georgia, so home of James Brown, home of the golfing tournament, the Masters.
Oh, nice.
Been living here in Seattle for about 7 years.
Okay.
And I love it. There are some days I love it and some days I don't. Depends on if the rain is hitting or not.
I was going to say, the weather's probably pretty different.
Oh, extremely different. Right now, it's probably still 80 degrees in Augusta.
Right,
so.
and hot and wet.
Muggy,
right?
Yeah. I miss it, though. I really do.
So home of James Brown, is that an artist that you looked up to when you were growing up?
Actually, no, but interestingly enough, I was actually part of a group called JAMP, which was his daughter's little organization to teach young kids how to play music and play in a band. So I didn't really start listening to James Brown probably until that moment, and I was 9 years old or 10, and that's when I was starting to play the guitar. But I do vaguely remember when he passed away, because I was at my grandma Georgia's house in Augusta, and it was on Christmas, and I was just like, who's this guy? And, heard the stories about James Brown, and I've heard a lot of stories about him.
Oh, yeah.
Just crossing over the border to North Augusta, which is South Carolina, and him coming back. And, I hope one day that I could kind of be like him and have a statue and stuff, because there hasn't been another artist.
Oh, there's a memorial there, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's kind of small, but he also has a arena there. So, one day I just want to be that next guy of like, oh, instead of James Brown, let it be Zoser, the modern day, big artist out of Augusta.
Zoser is your real name?
Yes.
I thought for sure it was a stage name, but it's not.
Nope. I've had to live with it for 24 years.
Yes. I love that you're only 24, too. I think that's amazing. So wait, you moved here with your family?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Moved here with my mom my junior year of high school.
Okay.
Graduated from West Seattle High School.
Nice.
And I was actually coming from a school of 254 students.
Period.
And then went to a school of 1,000 kids, and I was like, this is too
How many
much.
people were in your class when you graduated?
I can't even remember. During that time, it was a huge blur because, again, it was such a massive switch from being in such a small school to a bigger school.
Yeah.
But the cool part about going to West Seattle High School, shout out to my music teacher, Mr. Thomas, we had a guitar class, and I was like, I already know how to play the guitar. He was like, oh, okay, sure. Started playing the guitar. He was listening. He was like, wow, you're really good. I was like, yeah, and still need to improve. He was like, well, I still need to get you through the class. I was like, okay, well, what if I write songs and you grade me on my songs? And he was like, that seems ridiculous, but we can do that. So every single day that I had music class, I would write songs every single day, and he would grade them. And I ended up with an A+, of course, just because that's what I'm passionate about. But that was probably
Were other students pissed off that you were able to
no,
sort of go that route instead?
No, it was actually kind of funny because some of them would come out of the classroom and just be like sitting with me. They're like, so what are you working on today? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm trying to work on more finger picking. And they're like, okay, well, mind if I just sit here? I'm like, don't you have class? You have it better than me. And I was like, okay, sounds good.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
When you moved here, what year was it?
That was 2016.
When you came to Seattle, were you aware of, the music scene here? Were you a fan of any of the bands that had sort of blown up back in the 90s? The 90s? What year were you born?
99.
Okay.
I was on the cusp.
You were on the cusp of the 90s. Oh, my God. So you were aware of the bands, obviously.
Actually, funny enough, I was only aware of Nirvana.
Okay.
But I was only aware of Smells Like Teen Spirit because, in Georgia, we had a lot of different music going on, and me and my family were always in the car going to places, so the radio would be on. So it could go into so many different things, but it would never really play a lot of grunge music coming out of Seattle. But I did learn how to play lithium at a young age, just
You
because
did?
I was like, I like how this guitar sounds. I'm gonna try to do it. But when I moved out here, I knew nothing about the Seattle music scene.
Okay.
Honestly, I didn't know about Pearl Jam until I met Stone. So, no offense, Stone. But I knew nothing. The only artist that I knew of, just because I opened for him, was Alan Stone.
Yeah.
Out of Spokane.
Yeah.
So, it was all new to me, and especially since I kind of had that rocker kind of feeling to my music, hearing like real like dark rock, it was like, oh, I don't know if I could actually fit here.
Right.
So it was an experience, and still is an experience, trying to navigate through that.
How did you meet Stone, and how did you get signed to Loosegroove Records?
So I met Stone through a guy named Thaddeus Turner. I call him Grandpa, even though he could really be my uncle. And one day, here at Totem Star, I used to work at Totem Star, and I was a intern at Totem Star, and we were at the old location, Youngstown, working on some stuff, and Thad was just like, hey, this is when I found out who Pearl Jam was. He was like, do you know Pearl Jam? I was like, no. Well, one of the members is, in the other room. And I was like, okay, like, that sounds all right. Sure. You want to meet him? Sure. I meet everybody at this point.
Yeah, of course.
And Stone walks in, and this is during COVID, so he had the mask on, so I never actually saw his face until like 2 years later. And he's like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, I'm doing pretty good. Thad's like, hey, play that one song that you were practicing. And it was a song that I was writing about the times during 2020 and stuff, called American Dream. And Stone was immediately hooked. And, him and Thad started talking. Then we ended up recording at Studio Litho for 2 singles, Ain't Basic and It Is What It Is. Then, I was getting part of my life together, so I had to take a little break from music, and then came back earlier this year. Stone called me. He was like, hey, so you ready to like get back into this? And I was like, sure, just give me a little grace. And he was like, nah, you're getting back into this.
The time is now.
Yeah, the time is now.
Let's do this.
Let's go ahead and do this. And the interesting thing about Sunsong wasn't the first pick.
Really?
Yeah, it was another song called Set Sail that I wrote at the ending of last year. It was about some real stuff, and I finished Sunsong because it was already half finished, and it's not the kind of song that I usually kind of write. So I was like, hey, Stone, listen to this. He sends it to Billie Jean from The Orchard, and they're like, yep, we're choosing this one. And I was like, oh,
huh,
interesting. Okay.
It's got to be weird to be an artist and then to have like the business side kind of, tell you that's your single. This is, what's going on.
Yeah, and I've been experiencing that since I was 18, because my first EP I recorded in Nashville, and at the time my mentor, Joe Stevenson, of course, I'm a hard-headed kid at the time, so it was like, I want to release them now, and he's like, no, we got to plan this correctly, and obviously it did not go the way that it should have, but it is hard to kind of give yourself over to that, because of course you want to keep your integrity as an artist and make sure that, this is what I want. And sometimes, like your parents say, sometimes it doesn't matter what you want, it's what you need. So if I'm going to put you in this class, I'm going to put you in this class. If we're going to release a single, we're going to release a single. And I'm glad that I can experience this with Loosegroove rather than being on a larger scale, where I'm kind of just
where you have little to no control, essentially.
Yeah. So this was a perfect thing to happen, and I'm beyond grateful to Loosegroove, Stone, The Orchard, Thaddeus, Pac, Totem Star, because all of that happened just because of this very place that I'm in.
I love the fact that you didn't know who Pearl Jam was when you met Stone. That probably made Stone so stoked.
I didn't even tell him that until
so great,
the fifth conversation that we had.
I mean, I love that he's brought back Loosegroove first and foremost, but who are some of your influences? When I hear you play, when I watched you perform those songs, I was like, Tracy Chapman. I hear that soulful Tracy Chapman, but I also hear folk, legends in your voice and your tone. And, first of all, how do you classify yourself? If you were to tell somebody what your style of music would be, what would you tell somebody? And then who are those people that inspire you?
If we want to simplify it, pop music. But honestly, I'm more of a genre-bending artist because, as you said, I grew up listening to folk, hip-hop, pop, R&B, Japanese music. Don't ask me how I got into that. It's a long story. So I kind of cultivated a bunch of different styles into my own. So I would characterize myself as a genre bender, but that's not really a genre out right now. Hopefully I can start it.
Yeah.
But it would mostly be pop and singer-songwriter because writing songs is the key to my happiness. Like production and stuff, I leave that to other people.
Yeah.
Because, I only have the ear of, okay, this is the bass, this is, the words.
Right.
That's it. So
I'll bet you'll get better at that, though.
Oh, yes.
As you continue to put out records, you'll start to hone those production skills, all that. So artists that you're inspired by?
There's a long list. Ed Sheeran is probably the top. I can distinctly remember listening to Plus when I was 12, and I was like, I want to write songs. And I started writing songs when I was 12. So Ed Sheeran definitely inspired me. John Mayer, just because even though he's not from Georgia, he played at Eddie's Attic and lived in Atlanta for a little bit. So that kind of that soul in his guitar, I really wanted to mimic that. Lenny Kravitz, Childish Gambino. Can't forget about the late Mac Miller.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I absolutely love Mac Miller, and part of my little trapping and rapping and stuff comes from him. And, the artists I'm really inspired by are artists that say something that can touch the soul, rather than it just being a good song. When you listen to it, you kind of know when to feel or how to feel in that moment. And I felt like those artists did that very well. And another artist or two, Saint Raymond and Ben Howard. And, as I said, I just listen to a lot of artists that make me feel how I need to feel in the moment, as always.
So you said you started writing songs when you were 11?
12.
12?
Yeah.
12. When did you start busking?
14.
That's crazy.
Yeah, at the good old Augusta Farmers Market. It's right by the Riverwalk, and it's some brick road. It's a brick road, and
You just go out there with your acoustic guitar and just do it.
Yes, I shout out to Karen Gordon, my mom's old colleague. She was like, "Yeah, I heard that your son plays music. That's really cool. I have a stand open at the farmer's market if he wants to come and play." And I was like, "Sure, I guess I'll do that." And that's how I actually started building up a rapport for performing. Because beforehand, it was just kind of either talent show or playing for my grandmother. Miss Pearlie.
Jamming out in your bedroom.
Yeah.
Doing what she...
doing what artists do before they
get to the performance in front of human beings.
Yeah.
Wow, that's wild. I mean, I know that that's a discipline that kind of gets you ready for the real world when you're a musician. If you're out there busking, like, it can be brutal.
Oh, yeah, tell me about it. I used to spend 8 hours every Saturday in 99-degree weather every summer.
Muggy.
And just playing. But, hey, I made a lot of money. I made usually probably $400 each time. And, of course, to it...
$400 a pop. every
Yes.
8 hours. Oh my God.
For a 15-year-old, that's
Oh,
like
yeah,
gold.
dude.
I'm like, I'm
Better
I'm
than
rich.
working at McDonald's. Tell you that much.
I don't want to smell like fries ever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I worked there one day.
Oh,
Yeah,
one
and then
day.
I got a job at a pizza place, and I thought, oh, that's so much better than the McDonald's gig.
I mean,
Anyway.
honestly, it is because the McDonald's
it's pizza, dude.
It's pizza. Pizza is always good. Nobody can complain
Yeah.
about pizza. McDonald's, everybody can complain about McDonald's.
Talk about Totem Star and what Totem Star is all about.
My mom actually found Totem Star. I was a loner kind of kid when I first moved here, and she was like, "Hey, you need community." And of course, to me, I was like, "Community? I don't even know what that means because I'm angsty. I listen to Avril Lavigne and stuff." And she found Totem Star through, I think, The Stranger, and sent it to my old mentor Joe, and was like, "Hey, what do you think of Zoe doing this?" And just to let everybody know, Totem Star is a nonprofit organization that provides free recording for teens and now adults. The age range is 14 to 25. But at the time, it was 14 to 18. I may be completely wrong, but I was 16 at the time. I was like, okay, I'll just do it just to make my mom happy. And I can remember the day of orientation, I had to go meet Thad, Pac, and Paul. But that same night, the University of Georgia was playing Alabama in the national championship. And as a Southerner, we take college football very seriously. We put it over professional sports. We put it over our children sometimes. Not me, I have no kids. But I remember walking in and I was like, okay, nice meeting you. Nice, cool. Damn.
You
It's
thinking
first
about
quarter.
that game?
Yeah,
What time is it? What
I was
time
like,
is it?
It's first quarter. We need to kind of hurry up the process. And they were like, you good? And I was like, Georgia's playing. This may never, ever happen again. I need to go. And at the time, my girlfriend at the time picked me up to go watch it. And we lost that night. But I gained something also in that night, which was, a family that, honestly, back in Augusta, I would have never had. Augusta's music scene is very small. The only people probably is Lady Antebellum or Lady A.
Yeah.
And James Brown.
Right.
So coming here to Totem Star and seeing so many different artists and working with them and having a good time kind of let me know that I wasn't alone. Because, when you have artist brain goes through a bunch of different stuff that usually not a lot of regular people go through or see.
Well, you're critical of yourself, probably
yes.
brutally so.
Oh, yes.
Whereas when you can bounce it off other creatives, kind of probably helps.
Oh, yeah. It gives you a break from the madness.
Yeah.
Because that's the beauty of Totem Star is that, you can come in with whatever problems that you have, and then immediately it changes once you start talking. Like, shout out to my boy Kid Esfecto, because once I hear his laugh, I'm like, all my worries are completely out the door.
It gave you instant community.
Yeah.
That's really cool, man. Mm-hmm. I love this organization. Anyway, I think that's it for us.